Hi everyone, I'm Nick Olivo, and today I'll show you how to use the roll templates that are built into the 5e character sheet to format your macros. These templates will allow you to do things like create your own custom saving throws and ability checks, format trap rolls and other things that only require saving throws, and of course you can also format your own attack rolls as well. Before we dive in, I'd just like to thank Roll20 for sponsoring this video. So when I've done macro videos in the past, I've always used a very basic template which gives you this little purple box. But let's say you want your macros to look more like what's native to the 5e character sheet. Well, Roll20 gives you a whole bunch of different types of templates that you can take advantage of, and I'll include a link to this page down in the video's description, and I'll be referring to this throughout the course of the video. So the first template that we're going to look at today is the simple template, and this is used for attribute checks, saving throws, and skill checks. And to illustrate this, we're going to build a Warcaster macro. And if you're not familiar with Warcaster, it's a feat that gives you advantage on concentration checks to hang on to spells, among other things, but that's the part that we're really interested in here today. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go out to the OGL Roll Templates page here, and what I like to do is just copy the template that they provide, and then I'm just going to paste that into a text editor like Notepad++. And this way I know that I've got the basic syntax right, all the curly braces are in the right places and that sort of thing. So just gives us a really nice place to start from. So as we look at this, we see we're starting out with and template simple, so that's the template we're going to use. It means our output's going to look like this over here. Rname is the text that's displayed here in the output. So we're going to make that say Warcaster Concentration. Now, mod is the modifier that displays to the right of the label that you see right here, the right of the rname. And that's going to be our Constitution saving throw bonus. Put that in, and so basically what this is saying is the selected character grab their con save bonus and put that right here. All right, now let's scroll across here, and now we have R1 equals R1. So R1 is the first roll that we're making, and that's going to be rolling a d20 and then adding our Constitution saving throw. That's really all that's happening here. And so for that, it's going to look like this, okay, where we have a d20 plus our selected Constitution saving throw bonus. And you can see I've got that enclosed in square brackets. That's what's telling Roll20 that we're going to make this a die roll and add these two things together. Now, it would be nice if the modifier was just included with that or applied to that, but it isn't. So you do need to spell out any additional modifiers that you've got in here. The mod itself is only for display purposes over here to the right of the text. Okay, we're going to scroll over a little bit more here. And so now we get to this always section. So what does this mean? Well, if we jump back to the documentation page, you're going to see that always is one of 4 toggles that can be used to say whether you have 1 die roll or 2 die rolls. So right here, if we say always, that means we're going to roll 2 dice. But there are other options here as well. You'll see you have normal, which was only going to roll 1 die, advantage, which will roll twice and highlight the higher roll, or disadvantage, which will roll twice and highlight the lower roll. So in my macro that I've already created, you'll notice that the first roll here, the lower roll, is grayed out and the higher roll is much more apparent. So that's because I am using advantage here. So I want this higher roll to be the one that is more prominent in the output. If I wanted the lower roll, I would say disadvantage. If I only wanted 1 roll, I would say normal. And if I just wanted 2 normal die rolls, I would just have it set to always. But we want advantage for our purposes here. Now R2 is what the value for roll 2 is, and that's going to be exactly the same as what we did for R1. So I'm actually just going to copy that whole thing and paste it in there. There we go. And then our final element is the character name. And for that, we're just going to want it to display the name of whatever character is highlighted. So I'm going to replace this with this, saying @selected_character_name. And so now I can just take this whole thing, copy it, paste it into the chat. I'm going to make sure that I have my character highlighted here, and there we go. We see that we have 1d20 plus 1, which is our Constitution modifier. We have the same roll here on the right. We have the Constitution modifier, we have our text, and we have our character's name. So there we go. That's how we can use the simple template when we are making an ability check or a saving throw. So the next template that we're going to look at is the damage template. And this is used for spells and attacks that cause damage but don't require a 2-hit roll. So if you've ever cast Sacred Flame or Toll the Dead, this is the type of template that we're using. So again, I'm just going to copy the example from right here. And to illustrate what this one's going to look like, I'm going to use this SpearTrap macro that I've already created. You can see here we've got a DC 15 Dexterity save that we need to make. We have some text saying that spears shoot out from the walls, and we're going to deal 2d8 piercing damage from the SpearTrap. Okay, so to make this, I've pasted in the example here, and you can see we're starting out damage type template. Rname, that's just like what we saw before. That's going to be this text right here, so we're going to call that SpearTrap. The range, let's say that the spears can shoot out to a range of 10 feet. You can see that's right here. Damage 1 is stating if there is damage displayed with the output, which, yes, we want that. Damage 1 flag is if the damage is actually shown or if we need to click to display it. So we want it shown, so we're going to have that displayed. And then damage 1 is the actual damage from whatever it is that we're creating here. So that's going to be our 2d8. So I'm just going to replace this with 2d8. Okay, scrolling a little bit to the right, our damage 1 type, that's going to be piercing. And the piercing description is going to be shown right underneath the damage rolls. So let's put that in. Now, you can have multiple damage types. So let's say we were creating some sort of a trap that did both piercing and cold damage. Then we could have damage 2 displayed as well, and that would have additional damage for that other damage type. But because we're not doing that, we're just having our piercing damage here, I'm going to remove the elements related to damage 2. So I'm just going to highlight these right here and delete them. Okay, now our next section deals with crits. So if we were doing something that could be impacted by critical hits, we could put that in here as well. But this trap does not have crits, so again, I'm just going to remove that completely from the macro here. Okay, now save equals 1. That means that we are going to display the saving throw portion of the template, so we want that. The save attribute, so what ability do we use to make our save here? Is it a dexterity save? Is it a wisdom save? We're going to say that it's dexterity. And then the save description is where you could put text like half damage on a successful save, something like that. This SpearTrap doesn't have that, so we're just going to remove this completely. There we go. The save DC is, what's the DC? We'll just say that it's 15. Desc is this little bit of description right here, and we're going to say, as you saw, spears shoot out from the walls. Very dramatic. Scroll to the right. And then HL damage would be if we were using a spell attack that could be cast at a higher level. So if you think about like a fireball that comes in with a certain amount of damage dice, but then when you upcast it at a higher level, you get additional damage dice. That's what this would be used for. That doesn't apply here, so we're just going to remove that. Same thing with spell level. We're not doing a spell, so that's not applicable. And then ammo is for ammo tracking, which we're not dealing with either, so I'm going to remove that. And then character name, this is just like what we saw with the simple template, but we're not using a character name right now, so we're just going to delete that as well. So this is what we're left with. I'm going to highlight this whole thing, copy it, put it into the chat box here, paste. And there we go. We have our new SpearTrap. So DC 15 dexterity save, spears shoot up from the walls. We can see we rolled 2d8, and it is a SpearTrap. So that's how you can use the damage template to create effects that do damage but don't require attack rolls. And this works great for things like traps, or if you've homebrewed some sort of a cantrip that deals damage and only requires a saving throw, this would be a great fit for that. Now, the last template that we'll talk about today is the attack damage template, and this can be used for spells that require attack rolls or weapon attack rolls, and they're the ones that look like this, where you have your 2 attack rolls for advantage and disadvantage. You've got the description and then the damage for each corresponding roll. Now, I know somebody out there is going to look at this and say, well, hey, Eldritch Blast is built into the character sheet. You're absolutely right. It is. But I need something to demo with, so that's what I'm going to go with for today. All right, so to start things out with, let's go back into our templates page here, and just like before, we're going to grab the attack and damage example that they've provided. So I'm just going to copy that, and then we'll jump back into our Notepad++ window, paste that in, back to the beginning. All right, here we go. So the template we're using is attack and damage, and so it's going to look like this. Now this next section, mod, this is just like what we saw with the simple template, where we are going to put in whatever modifier that we're applying to our rolls. And so in this example, what we want is the spell attack bonus of our selected character. So I'm just going to paste that in. So the selected character's spell attack bonus. Our name, this is just like before, it's this text right here. I'm going to say Eldritch Blast with Genies Wrath because my Warlock has a Genie patron, and so he's got that special ability. Okay, R1, 1d20 plus, and then the modifier, I'm just going to copy and paste that right in there. There we go. So we're going to roll 1d20 and add our spell attack bonus. That'll be attack roll 1. Moving along here, always equals 1. So this is just like we saw with the simple template. So always means we're going to roll 2 attack rolls, and that's what I want to keep it as. If I wanted to do one with advantage or disadvantage or something like that, I could change this, but always is good enough for us here. R2 is going to be the exact same thing as what R1 was, so we're just going to copy that. All right, that's what's giving us the rolls right here. All right, let's move along. Okay, so now attack equals 1 means that we are actually showing the attack section, so we want that. Range, it's 120 feet for an Eldritch Blast. Just like before, we're going to have damage 1 and damage 1 flag. These are going to be left as is because we want all that to display. And then damage 1 is how much damage is this going to deal. Now, Eldritch Blast typically deals 1d10 worth of force damage. But if you have the Agonizing Blast invocation, which I do, then you get to add your Charisma modifier to that. And if you have the Genies Wrath ability, you also get to add your proficiency bonus to the damage. So ultimately, the damage for this particular attack is going to look like this, where we say 1d10 plus the selected token's proficiency bonus plus the selected token's charisma modifier. And that gets us our total damage for this particular attack. Moving on, our damage 1 type, that's going to be force. And then we're going to keep damage 2 flag here. We want that. That's going to give us the damage roll that corresponds to the other attack roll. And the damage for that is going to be exactly the same as what we had for the first attack roll. So again, it's 1d10 plus the proficiency bonus plus the charisma modifier. Damage 2 type, that's going to be force. Crit, this is what sort of damage dice would we have in the event of a critical hit. So the nice thing about this template is it will take care of crits for you. So if we roll a nat 20, we will automatically roll additional damage dice. And so for that, we're going to have 1d10. And crit 2 is also going to be 1d10. Now there's no saving throw on this, so we're just going to delete the items related to saves. For description, I'm going to put in a blast of Eldritch energy. That's very creative of me, I know. Higher level damage is not applicable for this particular scenario, so we're just going to delete that. We're also going to wipe out spell level and ammo. Those don't have any bearing on what we're doing here either. And then character name, that's going to be our selected character name, just like what we did earlier on. Okay, get that. And so now we're going to copy this whole thing back to the chat, highlight our Warlock, paste all that in, and there we go, Eldritch Blast with Genies Wrath. So we had an attack roll of 10 with 13 force damage, or an attack roll of 17 with 14 force damage, and there you have it. That's how you can use the attack damage template. Now, the concepts that we've gone through today can be used for any of the other types of templates that are provided. So there is a template here that's just for attack rolls that doesn't automatically include damage. There are other NPC templates here as well. So you've probably seen, and if you roll for an NPC, the output looks a little bit different. So we've got examples of how that works as well. But the values that you use are pretty much exactly the same as what we went through with the other templates. So you can take these concepts that we've learned and apply them to the other types of templates. So there you have it. That's how you can use the built-in roll templates to make your macros look more like the native output of the Roll20 5e character sheet. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, folks, have a great day.